Good evening, guys. All are getting my screen and voice. Please confirm. Right. So let me do one thing, guys. Instead of writing in new notebook, new notepad, I will write in. Yesterday notes itself. Then continuation, you guys will get right. We are discussing file permissions, right? Give me 1 minute. Yesterday 18th, right? 18th. Fine, guys. So in last session, what we are discussing is we are discussing about the file permissions in Linux. So in Linux, right? So a file can have three types of permissions, guys. What three types of permissions? Read permission, write permission, execute permission. Read permission will be represented with R. Write permission will be represented with W. Execute permission will be represented with X, guys. And if you have read permission, you can read the data from the file. If you have write permission, then you can write the data into the file. If you have execute permission, then you can install packages and you can execute some shell scripts on the file, guys. Right? File permissions are divided into these three parts: user permission, group permission, others permission. See, if you see this one, in about 10 characters here, total how many characters are there, guys? 10 characters are there. 10 characters we have, guys. Right? In about 10 characters, first character will represent file type. Right? If first character is D, then that file is a directory file. If first character is hyphen, then that is a normal text file. Second, third and fourth characters will represent user permissions. Fifth, sixth and seventh character will represent group permissions. Eighth, ninth, 10th characters will represent others permissions. Right? In above case, user have read and write permissions, guys. Right? Second, third, fourth user permissions. User have read and write only. In the place of X, we have hyphen. Right? In the place of X, you have hyphen means there is no execute permission for the user. Same for the group also, we have R and W only, we don't have X. That's why they mentioned just hyphen. Hyphen means there is no permission, right? That permission is not available, right? Next, coming to others. Others have only read permissions, others doesn't have write and execute permission, right, guys? Now here, if you want, you can give the permissions, guys. If you want, you can give the permissions at here. How we will give the permissions, guys? How we will give the permissions? See, guys, let me take one more thing here, guys. Let me take one more example for more understanding purpose. Here, I'm going to take like this, guys. I'm going to take like this hyphen, I'm taking hyphen. First one will represent type of the file, right? Very good. Right, hyphen I am taking, W I am taking, hyphen I am taking, W I am taking, hyphen I am taking it here. Right, next here I am going to take like this, guys. R I am taking, hyphen I am taking. Right, next here hyphen I am taking, X I am taking it here, guys. So now tell me, guys, here user, what permissions user have, what permissions group have, what permissions others have. Right, what permissions user have, what permissions group have, what permissions others have. Can anyone tell this? Can anyone take initiative and tell this? What permissions user have? Respond, guys.
Read, and write.
Oh, observe carefully, guys. Read and write user have?
Write.
Only write permission, guys. First one will represent file type. Next three is the right user. User have only write permissions. Right here, a group have only read permission. right? Others have only execute permission, guys. User have, right, only write permission, only write permission, right? User have only write permission, right? Here group have only read permission, read permission. Group have, others have execute permission, execute permission. Others have execute permission, guys. User group others, user group others, guys. Observe that one. First, forget about the first character, guys. First character always talks about what? File type, guys. Okay, so next let me take like this, guys. Next let me take like this. Here I'm going to take D I'm taking hyphen, W I'm taking hyphen. Next here hyphen X I am taking. Next here hyphen I am taking. Now can anyone tell this? What user have? What group have? Right, what others have? Can anyone tell this? User, what user have?
Permission. Permission.
1 minute. What user have? User only have
Right permission.
right permission. Very good.
Group have executive permission.
Group have execute permission. Very good.
Others doesn't have any.
Very good.
Anything.
Very good. Execute permission. That others doesn't have no permissions. No permissions. Others no permissions, guys. Okay. So like this.
Can I ask you one question?
Yeah.
Yeah. In the first case, you said user have only write permission, right? So he cannot see the file, like he cannot see the whole file. Only he can insert anything he wants.
He can't able to read the data. He can't able to see the content what we have inside the file. He can write the data.
Okay. Right. Thank you.
Right. See, guys. Now here I want to modify the file permissions. So these are the current state. These are the file permissions which we have currently. Now I want to modify the file permissions, guys. For user, I want to add some more extra permissions. For group, I want to remove some permissions like that. I want to modify the file permissions. How we will do that? Modifying file permissions. Modifying file permissions. How we will do that? This is very, very important, guys. In interview, compulsory questions, file permissions. See, if you want to modify the file permissions, we need to use one command. Which command we need to use? Which command we need to use? By using chmod. Chmod command. By using chmod command, we can modify the file permission. We can modify the file permissions. By using chmod command, we can modify the file permissions. Next, by using chmod, by using chmod command, what we can do? We can add the permissions. We can remove the permissions also. It both we can do. We can add the permissions. We can add the permissions and we can remove the permissions also. We can remove the permissions also. Both we can do, guys. By using chmod, we can add the permissions and we can remove the permissions also. Right. So which command we need to use? Chmod. Chmod we need to use it here to add the permissions and to remove the permissions. Okay, guys. Next here. Okay, first let me do practically, then I will write the notes. Let me go to here. Here. Okay, what is our mission? Linux VM, right? Linux VM. Right? Fine. So now let me connect with this machine. Right. So now here observe carefully ls-l. What files we have? These are the files which we have. Suppose if you take f10.txt. On f10.txt, what permissions are there? For user, read write permissions are there. For group, read write permissions are there. For others, read permissions are there. Read write, read write, read. These are the permissions on f10 file, guys. On f10 file, user have read write, group have read write, others have read permissions. Others have read permissions, guys. Now what I want to do, right? For user what permissions user have? Only read and write. I want to give execute permission. I want to add execute permission to the user. How we will add? How we will add? For that we need to use chmod command. Chmod. See guys, which to whom I want to add the permissions? User. So we need to take. So what we are doing? We are adding the new permissions. So plus we need to take. Which permissions we are adding? Execute permission. X we need to take. Right? For user, we are adding execute permissions. On which file? On which file you are adding execute permission to the user? f10.txt file. f10.txt file. On f10.txt file, we are adding execute permission to the user. We are adding execute permission to the user. Enter. Right, now let me check whether execute permission is added or not. ls-l. Right, f10.txt. See guys, color also got changed. See guys, f10.txt user got execute permission or not? Observe carefully. User got execute permission or not? Earlier on f10.txt, user doesn't have the execute permission. Here user doesn't have the execute permission, but now here user execute permission also added to the user at here. Right? Now what I want to do, right, for group guys, for group I want to remove write permissions. I want to remove the write permissions for the group. How we can do that? See guys, how we can do that? Right, to whom I want to remove the permission? Group. So here we need to take G. Right, you want to add or remove. So here take minus. Right, which permission you want to remove? Write permission I want to remove. See guys, chmod. Right, for the group I want to remove write permission on f10.txt file. Right, now ls-l. Now see guys, on f10.txt, did group have the write permission? Write permission removed or not? Write permission got removed. Write permission removed from the group guys. Write permission removed from the group. Next here guys. Next, I want to add execute permission to the others guys. Currently, others have only read permission. Only read permission. Now I want to add execute permission. I want to add execute permission to the others. How we will add that guys? See, ls hyphen n, right? I want to add execute permission. Chmod, right? See, to whom I want to add? Others. Others I want to add. Others, right? I want to add. So plus which permission? Execute permission. Execute permission on f10.txt file. Now check ls hyphen n, right? On f10.txt, right? Others got the execute permission or not? Yes, guys. Like this, we will add and remove the permissions. If you want add the permissions, then we need to use plus operator. If you want remove the permission, then we need to use minus symbol. To add the permission, we will use plus symbol. To remove the permission, we will use minus symbol. Understood, guys? To add the permission, to add the permission, we need to use plus symbol, plus symbol. Right? To remove the permission, we need to use minus symbol. Minus symbol we need to use. To add the permission, we need to use plus symbol. To remove the permission, we need to use minus symbol. Right? See, guys, for user, I want to add execute permission on f10.txt file. For user, I want to add execute permission on f10.txt file. Right? I want to add execute permission on f10.txt file. Right? How you will add that? See, guys, here we need to take $chmod, right? For user, right? U, adding plus execute permission X on f10.txt file. f10.txt file we are taking. Right? So next, guys, next, right? For group, guys, for group, I want to remove write permission. I want to remove write permission. I want to remove write permission. I want to remove write permission for the group. For group, I want to remove write permission. How we will do that? Same. Chmod, right? Group, right? G. Remove, right? Minus. Which permission? Write permission. On which file? f10.txt file. f10.txt file. f10.txt file. Right? So next, for others, I want to add execute permission. For others, add execute permission. Execute permission. For others, add execute permission. Right here, chmod, right? To whom I want to add? Others, right? Others, right? Add or remove? Add. Which permission? Execute permission. Right? On which file? f10.txt file. Go through this, guys. Like this, we will add and remove the permissions. We will add and remove the permissions, guys. If you want add the permission, plus symbol we need to use. If you want add, remove the permissions. If you want remove the permissions, minus symbol we need to use. Please go through this modifying file permissions. File permissions are very, very important. Clear? Any doubt up to here? Is this file permissions clear? Respond please. File permissions clear up to here? Not done. Not yet done. Still we need to discuss more about file permissions. Very good. But in interview, they won't ask much on this, guys. They won't ask much on these file permissions. Right. So we can give file permissions with the numeric numbers also. We can give file permissions with numeric numbers also. In interview, they will ask on that numeric numbers. How you will give the file permissions with the numeric numbers? Right there, right, multiple questions will come on the interviews. Right? See guys, file permissions. File permissions with numeric numbers. File permissions with numeric numbers. Right? See guys, here 0 to 7 numbers we have. We need to take 0 to 7 numbers. 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 0 to 7 we need to take. Right here, 0 means what? 0 means no permission. 0 means no permission. Right, next here, 1 is there. 1 means what? 1 means what? Only execute permission. Only execute permission. Only execute permission. Right, 2 means what? 2 means only write permission. Only write permission. Only write permission. 3 means what? 3 means what? Only, right, 3 means execute and write permissions. 3 means execute and write permissions. Both. If you use 3, you will get both execute and write permissions at a time. Execute and write permissions. 4 means what? Only read permission. Again, 4 means only read permission. Only read permission. Only read permission. Right. 5 means what? 5 means what? Right. Read and execute permissions. Read and execute permissions. Read and execute permissions. 6 means what? 6 means what? Read and write permissions. 6 means read and write permissions. Read and write permissions. 7 means what? 7 means what? 7 means read, write, execute, full permissions. 7 means read, write, and execute permissions. Full permissions you will get. 7 means full permissions you will get it here. Please go through this. You guys need to remember these things. No other option. You guys need to remember. Compulsory in interview they will ask questions on these things only. 0 means no permission. 1 means only execute permission. 2 means only write permission. 3 means execute and write permissions. 4 means only read permission. 5 means read and execute permissions. 6 means read and write permissions. 7 means read, write, and execute permissions. Yes, please go through this. I will back in 1 minute, guys. Let 2 minutes. Please go through this. Right, guys. Clear? These numbers are clear, guys. Please respond. Clear up to here? Can we start the practice on this? Very good. See, guys. I want to give the full permissions only for user, guys. I want to give all permissions, read, write, execute permissions to the user. How we will give that? I want to give read permission, write permission, execute permission to the user. How we will give it, guys? ls-l, ls-l. So now let me take aws.txt file. First file only I am taking. Right. On first file, user have only read and write permission. Only read and write permission. Forget about that. What permissions user have, forget about that. Currently, what user have, forget about that. But I want to give full permissions to the user. Full permissions to the user. Remaining people, I don't want to give any permissions. For remaining people, I don't want to give anything. I don't want to give anything for the others. Only user I want to give the full permissions. For group and others, I don't want to give any permissions. Right. See now what I am going to do. Observe carefully, guys. Here I am going to use chmod 7. 7 means what? Full permissions. To first place I am giving 7 means user will get the full permissions. 0, 0, right. So others, group and others both, right, will get 0 permissions. So means existing permissions also they will lose. Right, they will lose existing permissions also. Now currently group have read and write permission, and others have read permission. Now whenever I have given 0, 0, that existing permissions also they will lose. Now only user will get the full permissions. aws.txt. aws.txt. Right, now ls-l. See, guys. Right, user got read, write, execute permission. Right, group and others no permissions, guys. Group and others no permissions. Why? Here we have given 700. 700 we have given. Okay. Now if I give like this, what it will happen? Right, I will give only 7, guys. Only 7 I will give. What it will happen? Can anyone tell? If I give only 7, what it will happen? Now ls-l. See, guys, right? It will affect to others, guys. Right? If you give only 7, it will consider as the last person. Others will get full permissions. Remaining all will become, right, 0, 0, 0, 0. No permission. No permission. Suppose if you want to give the full permissions to the group, I want to give the full permissions to the group. Right? What I will do? What I need to do? See, guys, here. If you want to give full permissions to the group, 0, 7, 0 we need to give. So now user will get 0 permissions, other will get 0 permissions, only group will get the full permissions. To ls-l. See, here only group got the full permissions, user and others got 0 permissions. I want to give full permissions to all, user, group and others. For everybody, I want to give the full permissions. For everybody, I want to give the full permissions. Guys, please mute. See, guys, for everybody, I want to give full permissions. 7, 7, 7. Now do ls-l. See, complete. User, group, others, everyone got full permissions at here. Everyone got full permissions. Right? Fine, guys. Now what I want to do? I want to give the full permissions to the user. Right? I want to give the full permissions to the user. Right? For a group, I want to give the only read and execute permission. For others, I want to give the write and execute permission. Right? What I want to do, guys? Tell me. Tell me, guys. Tell me, guys. Can anyone take initiative? Tell me. Right, once again, I am repeating the question. First, I want to give full permissions to the user. Next, right, only read and execute permissions to group. Right. So next, right, write and execute permissions to others. What I want to do? What I want to do?
753.
Ma?
753.
Very good. Very good. 7 means full permissions. User will get full permissions. Right. Next, group only read and execute permissions means 5. Read and execute means 5. Next, others. Right. Write and execute permission means 3. 7 5 3. 7 5 3. Enter. Now do ls hyphen here. See, guys, at full permissions, I have given full permissions to the user. I have given read and execute permissions to the group means 5. Number 5. I have given write and execute permissions to the others means number 3. 7 5 3. 7 5 3. Is it clear? So like this, we need to modify the permissions by using numeric numbers. Like this, we need to modify the permissions by using numeric numbers. In interview, they will ask on numeric numbers only. To give full permissions for user. To give full permissions to user. What we need to do here? chmod right, 7008 aws.txt. aws.txt we need to give. Right. Next, to give the all permissions for the group. To give all permissions for the group. For the group, I want to give all permissions. What we need to do? chmod 070 aws.txt. Right. Next what I want to give? To give all permissions for others. To give all permissions for others. What we need to give? $chmod 007 at aws.txt. aws.txt we need to give. Right. Next, to give all permissions for others, this is the command, right? So next, if you want to give all permissions for user, group, others, to give all permissions for users, group, and others. What we need to give? $chmod 777 aws.txt. Next here, I want to give for user all permissions. I want to give for user all permissions. For group, read and execute permission. Read and execute permission. Read and execute permission. For others, write and execute permission. Write and execute permission. For other, write and execute permission. What we need to take here? chmod 753 aws.txt. aws.txt. Please have a look into this. File permissions with the numeric numbers. Please go through these things once. How to handle the file permissions using numeric numbers. file permissions with the numeric numbers. Right, first you guys need to remember these numbers. 0 means no permission, 1 means only execute permission, 2 means only write permission, 3 means execute and write permission, 4 means only read permission, 5 means read and execute permission, 6 means read and write permissions, 7 means read, write and execute permission. To here clear guys, this is about permissions, file permissions. This is about file permissions guys. Right, so next guys, right guys, for today I'm stopping here. Right guys, in next session we will discuss about user accounts guys. It will take that complete user accounts part will take one session guys. Right, how to see, I already told Linux is multi-user based operating system, right? Right, so here by default here root is available. Every Linux machine will have root account guys. Every Linux machine will have root account at here, and right, we can create other accounts also. Guys. Right, based on the AMIs, we will get some default users also guys. Suppose if you choose Amazon Linux AMI, you will get EC2-user as the default user. If you choose Ubuntu, then you will get Ubuntu as the default user guys. For every Linux machine, root user is available. Next, apart that root user, right, for every Linux machine, you will get one default user also. Right, which default user will get? That is based on the AMI which you are selecting guys. That is based on the AMI, right? We can decide which user you will get. Linux is a multi-user based operating system. In one Linux machine, we can able to create multiple user accounts. Multiple users can access one Linux machine and they can perform different operations. See, I'm connecting to Linux machine. Say my colleague also connected with same Linux machine, right? So I am doing some read operations. My colleague is doing some write operations guys. Multiple people can able to connect with the same Linux machine and they can perform different operations. Every Linux machine will have one root account guys. That root account we will call it as super user. That root account we will call it as super user guys. How you will go to that super user? See here, we are connected to Amazon Linux. That's why here you can able to see. That's why here EC2-user is the default user. EC2-user is the default user. When you create Linux virtual machine by using Amazon Linux image, then you will get EC2-user is the default user, and you will get one super user also. You will get one super user also. See guys, here if you check, who am I? I am the EC2-user. EC2-user. In the Amazon Linux virtual machine, the default user is EC2-user. Now let me switch to super user. I want to see who is the super user. How you can switch? Sudo SU. SU stands for super user. SU stands for super user. I want to switch to super user. Enter. See guys, what you got here? What is this? Root you are getting. Who is the super user? Root is the super user. Here check, who am I? Who am I? Right, I am the root user. I am the root user. Earlier you got EC2-user. Now you switch it to super account, right? Now you are in not EC2-user account. To switch to super user account, from there you are checking who am I. That's why it is printing root. Like that we can create multiple accounts. Like this we can create multiple accounts, guys. We can create multiple accounts. See, this EC2-user, based on the AMI which you are selecting, right, you will get a different default users. For Amazon Linux, you will get EC2-user. For Ubuntu, you will get Ubuntu is the default user. How you can switch to default user, root user, super user, guys? Sudo SU. Sudo SU, right, here you will switch from EC2-user to super user, guys. With this, you can switch from EC2-user to super user. Understood, guys? Let me write a few points at here. Working with user accounts. Working with user accounts in Linux. Working with user accounts in Linux. See guys, Linux is multi-user based operating system. Linux is a multi-user based operating system. Linux is a multi-user based operating system. In one Linux machine, we can able to create multiple user accounts. Right? We can able to create multiple user accounts. Multiple user accounts we can able to create in one Linux machine. Sudo is nothing but a temporary permission, guys. That is one keyword. It will give the temporary permissions. Sudo, if you want to switch from one user to another user, this is one command, sudo command. This is one command, just sudo command. Right? Why sudo is there, right? We have one file also with name sudo verse file. We have one file with the name sudo verse file. Suppose if you want to give the permissions, full permissions to any user, that user you need to add into the sudo verse file. That we will discuss. Right, we will discuss in our sessions. Right, we have one file with the name sudo verse file. Inside the sudo verse file, if you add any user, that user also will get whatever the permissions super user have, those permissions that user also will get. Then what you need to do? You need to add the user into the sudo verse file. Who will add the user into the sudo verse file? My root only. Root account. From the root account, root user should add the users into the sudo verse file. Then those users also will get the full permission. Sudo verse. Right? These are the related that. Linux is a multi-user based operating system. In one Linux machine, we can able to create multiple user accounts we can create. Right. So next here, multiple users can access one Linux machine. one Linux machine, multiple users can access and they can perform different operations. Different operations. Right? So every Linux machine will have will have root account. Every Linux machine will have root account. Right? That account we will call it as super user account. That is the super user account. So when we create a Linux machine, using Amazon Linux AMI, using Amazon Linux AMI, we will get default user which is EC2-user, EC2-user. Switch to super user, from default user, switch to super user from default user. What we need to do? Sudo su we need to use. Right? See here, to perform super user activities. Whatever the super user is doing, to perform that activities. To perform super user activities, we will use sudo permissions. We will use sudo permissions. Right? We will use sudo permissions. Okay. Fine, guys. Right, we will continue in next session. Right? How to create the super user, how to create the group, how to add the how to create the users, how to create the groups, how to add the users to the groups, right? How to delete the groups, how to delete the users, right? Everything we will discuss in next session, guys. Okay. This part up to here clear, right? Okay, guys. Up to here clear. How much Linux means we won't use only Linux anywhere. To work with DevOps and AWS, we should know these Linux commands. Suppose in the companies, if you as a DevOps engineers, we need to check the log files. Why? Because developers won't get those log files. Sometimes developers won't have the permissions to see the log files. Only DevOps engineers will have the permissions to see the log files. Right? We need to, suppose if any application is not working, right? If application is not working, they will ask to DevOps engineers. DevOps engineers need to open the files and their errors are there. What type of errors are there? Those things we need to verify. That's why yesterday we discussed head commands, tail commands, grep commands, all those things. Right? Same way, if you want to create any users, right? So we need to use these user permissions. Right? These commands we will use in our work. To work with the DevOps, everything. Right? We are going to deploy our projects into Linux environments or Linux machines only, not in Windows machines. If you want to deploy the project in the Linux machine, you need to connect with that Linux machine by using these commands. Right? Everything you need to write the commands only to work with the Linux machines. So that's why we are learning these commands, guys. Projects and all those things we will discuss. We are not yet started DevOps and AWS. Actual DevOps and AWS not yet started. Right, for before this session at 7:30 to 9, I have Docker session, Docker and Kubernetes. For them, I am showing how to deploy our Spring Boot and microservice projects into the environments, how to create the Docker files, right, how to write the instructions inside the Docker files, right, how to create the Docker image from that Docker file, how to run the Docker image as a container, how to deploy that image into multiple environments, development environment, SIT environment, UAT environment, how to deploy that, right? So all those things will come in Dockers and Kubernetes, in Jenkins, where we can see how to deploy the projects and all those things. Some time is there and some time is there. Still we are not yet started AWS and DevOps. Right? To understand that, to work with the DevOps and AWS, whatever the basics are required, we are learning those basics first. To work with DevOps and AWS, we need some shell scripting, we need some Linux. Right? These two things are required. That's why we are learning first Linux and shell scripting. Okay. I told, right, I will show complete real-time project I will set up in front of you guys. Right? Jenkins, Maven, Sonar, Nexus, everything. Docker, Kubernetes, everything I will set up. Docker, Kubernetes, Nexus, Maven, Jenkins, SonarQube, end to end, everything I will set up. Whatever the tools we are going to learn in DevOps, all the tools I will set up in front of you guys only. Right? I will do one real-time project in companies, how we will work as a DevOps engineers, what is our roles and responsibilities, how to set up the infrastructures, how to deploy the projects into the different environments. Everything I will show. Practically everything I will show. Please wait some more time. Okay? Bye. Thanks guys. I will share these notes. Tomorrow we don't have the session. Tomorrow Sunday, right? Next session is on Monday, right? Monday we will meet. I will share these notes guys. Thank you guys. Happy weekend. Good night guys. Good night.